How's it going, folks? Recording another one of these super flex drafts. Was going to stop doing the super flex drafts after the Brady news and whatnot because it kind of felt like you were a little bit of dead money, but the excitement of free agency and whatnot, decided to do a few more. So I think this is my 40th draft overall. Looks like we got pick 111. I just have not gotten pick 1 through 5 barely at all in these drafts. It's really a pain in the ass because all the elite quarterbacks usually go 1 through 5. I did have a little run where I was picking up at the early part of the draft a bunch, but I feel like I've ran extremely bad this season on my draft picks. Like, I really didn't get 1 through 3 hardly at all in the big board, and now I'm just not getting 1 through 5 at all in the super flex. Nothing you can really do about it, unfortunately. Probably going to look to maybe pick up Christian McCaffrey and see what we can make happen at quarterback. Just because I haven't really taken. Oh, wow. Paul took Christian McCaffrey at 5. God, I never even get 6, so I can never get Kyler Murray when this happens. Sucks. So that'll definitely change our strategy because I have tons of Jonathan Taylor. I'm not really worried about getting more Jonathan Taylor. Just disgusted right now. Kyler Murray goes at 7. I just can't get any shares of any of those guys. I have quite a bit of actually Josh Allen and Mahomes because I picked 1 and 2 a lot, but I'm underweight on Herbert, overweight on Lamar, but that's because I was reaching on Lamar early. Like I was picking him ahead of ADP back then. So I guess I'm just going to go with Burrow or Dak, whichever one doesn't get taken here. So let's take Burrow this time. Could take Chase. I actually have a bunch of Burrow Chase teams, so might try something else this time. I think I've taken Burrow and Chase on every team that I've taken Burrow. So, of course, for Burrow to hit his ceiling, Chase probably needs to be fairly ridiculous. So, could just go with it again. Could take Lance or Hurts. I actually prefer Hurts slightly to Lance, but I think that they're really close. I own a lot of both of them. So we can just do the Chase thing. Fine. Be interested to see what options we have available for quarterback in round 3. Probably won't have a chance at Fields or Trevor Lawrence, but we might have a shot at Tannehill, who I like a decent amount. If you're going to have Tannehill, you may as well grab some A.J. Brown because those two are even more attached at the hip than most wide receiver ones and quarterbacks just because of how weak the Titans pass catchers are behind A.J. Brown. So if A.J. Brown gets hurt, Tannehill's in deep poop. I definitely would not take Derek Carr over Lance or Hurts, but that's just me. So, I saw a stat where somebody was kind of talking about Derek Carr and what his real upside is and whatnot, and they pointed out that if you gave Derek Carr 11 more passing touchdowns last year, he still would have been QB13. So, I don't think that this ceiling is quite what people think it is when they're taking him in these drafts. I do think Davante Adams will still get his, but it's not just going to be in addition to what was there. He's partially going to take away from the players that were there. So you're not just strictly adding all of his points on top for Carr. like significantly, I think Renfro is going to take like a pretty large step back. I would expect him. I mean, I don't. I think he's still like fine. So I think he'll still be good, but I think he's going to be more of like a low end wide receiver 2, wide receiver 3, as opposed to like wide receiver 10 or whatever he was last year. It was kind of crazy. Fields has been falling in these like a decent amount, which is pretty interesting. I think Winston will be quite a bit more expensive now that he's back on the Saints. I have like all the Winston. I was rocking 44% Winston. He's my second highest owned player in this tournament. Kenneth Walker is actually my first. I'm like 47%. Still love Kenneth Walker's price right now. Isaiah Spiller is like starting to get pretty ugly after the pro day today. Yikes. I think he's going to definitely fall in the NFL draft. So I expect Paul to take Fields here. That'll be a nice start for him with Lance, Fields, McCaffrey. I wonder if Lance will start moving down a little bit because Jimmy G looks like the San Francisco just can't really move him. I would expect not because people are freaks for Lance, myself included. Lance is one of my higher owned QBs in this contest. I think of the round 1-2 guys, Hurts and Lance are my top 2. I have a lot of Fields too. But yeah, Fields is, I guess, more of a round 3 guy. He did get into round 2 there for a bit, but then Chicago added like 0 weapons ever. Could take Trevor Lawrence. I could take AJ Brown and see if Tannehill gets taken by the guy in the end or not. Still Debo there too. Debo went. I don't really hate taking AJ Brown over CeeDee Lamb, so do that. I have CeeDee Lamb higher than AJ Brown, but I'm just gonna attempt to pick up an AJ Brown Tannehill stack in the spot. That's why I made the choice here because I figured, I was sending Lawrence to the the turn there. All right, I guess that result is another thing that can happen there. So that guy took 2 quarterbacks on the end. When we left in the stack chance at Lamb too. That's just a terrible pick by him. But we'll see what we can do. It looks like we're going to go with a little hero QB action. And have quite the interesting start at wide receiver. So this will give us a chance to build like kind of a unique build for compared to what we've been building. So that's kind of cool. I definitely do not have any teams with this start so far. That's for sure. Nice thing about this too is we're going to miss T. Higgins because I think my Burrow teams basically all have Chase and Higgins, and maybe we'll go with like Burrow and Chase and Boyd, or Burrow, Chase, and Hayden Hurst, something like that. So Fournette signed back with Tampa Bay, so he's going to start flying up these boards. Paul got Barkley. That's a pretty cool start for him. He's like a hyper stacker, so I'm just a little surprised he didn't take Debo versus Fields, but I would have taken Fields too because he started at CMC. So I love the idea of getting CMC and then like two of those strong quarterbacks. Breece Hall at the 5-1. So I only have 8% Breece Hall somehow in this tournament because I think I have like close to 30% in the regular big board, but he's really, really moved up since the combine and stuff. So it's getting a little harder to get him. I was still pretty into kind of like reaching for him until Tampa Bay signed Fournette because I think that would have been like the nut spot for him to go. What a weird team this guy has. So he has like Lamar and Hurts, whose best stacking options are Andrews and Goddard, but then he has Andrews and Goddard both blocked. I'm not too much a fan of how this team started. Definitely would have probably just taken, I don't know, Andrews instead of Kelsey. I don't even think is that like insane, but I think there's other people that would differ on opinion on that with me. Could end up with like a bit of a zero RB team and see kind of what happens with that. That is one of our options. I'm not used to having 3 wide receivers this early in these drafts, so it's kind of interesting. I guess if I wanted to get AJ Brown and Tannehill, I should have just taken Tannehill because then he would have taken, been more inclined to take CeeDee Lamb, obviously, at the turn. But I don't know. I like that this worked out this way so we can get to try some different stuff. I didn't like it, obviously, in the moment, but don't dislike it now. So it looks like we'll have a shot at whatever we want out of like Zach Wilson and Daniel Jones if we want one of those two. Take Zach Wilson. Could take Elijah Moore to go with him. Fournette. I like Akers and Dobbins quite a bit. Could take Daniel Jones. I think I'd rather wait on quarterback. Not sure what's happening. Our draft just got like stuck there, so just took Dobbins. I was kind of stuck between Elijah Moore and Dobbins, but like the draft, something went wrong there, and I was just like stuck on 0 seconds, so I just started somebody up. I was kind of between Dobbins and Akers, but I don't really have a strong opinion on one over the other. I think Akers probably has like a slightly higher ceiling, but I think Akers also has like a much lower floor. I think there's a chance that Akers just like is pretty fucked up from his surgery there and his Achilles problem. He like looked like butt cheeks in the playoffs, so we'll see how things go with Akers. He's also a guy I have like a ton of, have way less Dobbins. There was a point where Akers really, really fell for a little while. So I was grabbing him then, but then he kind of moved back up. quite a while until we pick again. Things in this draft have definitely went interesting. Don't really have interest in the Jets tight ends. Uzama and Conklin, because I think that Conklin will probably eat a little bit of into Uzama's work, and I just don't think that they have that high ceilings anyway. So I probably won't be looking to stack there. Kind of interested to see what happens with like Kenny Pickett in the draft, because he's a guy I like thought would for sure end up with a starting job. That like I could see now not ending up with a starting job, but kind of anything possible. Kind of interested to see this team that's behind us here. Huh. It's interesting. Definitely think that choice to take Tannehill over CeeDee Lamb when he had Dak was very bad. Not just because it made our day shitty, but just think it was a bad pick, regardless of that fact. So kind of hoping like Malik Willis makes it to us. He's a guy I like don't have a ton of shares of in this contest. I had more in the big board, because in the big board for a while he was going in like round like 18, 19, 20. So I was like smashing Willis there. But here he's been pretty expensive, so I have not gotten as many shares as I would like to have. This has got to be the slowest moving draft I've ever been in. I don't know if something's like going wrong with it or what is happening. It seems like it's like stalling and having problems. Terry McLaurin. So if we don't get Willis, could consider Davis Mills, but I don't know if I'll do that. Dallas Goedert really standing out to me as a value on the board right now. Loving me some Goddard. I'm either going to take Elijah Moore or Malik Willis, depending on what this guy does. It's another person stuck on like just 0-0-0. Choose Willis. All right, let's take Elijah Moore. I kind of decide if I want to take Davis Mills or kind of kick it down the road to Kenny Pickett. All right, I'll take a Davis Mills share. He's a guy I like really haven't taken too much of in this tournament, so see how things go with that. Now we got Brevin Jordan opened up to us as a possible tight end later to stack. Nico Collins is like a later wide receiver, but I don't really love that. Kenneth Walker going off the board a little earlier than usual. Can't be too sad about missing out Kenneth Walker shares at this point. I am as far overboard as a man can be on the Kenneth Walker. It's a pretty interesting team I've got here. It's does not look like any of my other teams really. I'll probably go with a fourth quarterback, but I'm probably gonna like shoot for somebody like Ritter or Corral or Howell or something. Like hope to spike them going to the Lions and winning that job during the season. Looks like Paul got Mooney to go with his Fields, which is nice. I did a Fields the other day with like Mooney, Kmet, and Pringle. I usually don't 3-stack quarterbacks, but it was like, super late, and I was going with more wide receivers than normal. I think I took 9 wide receivers on that team. There was also just like no other wide receivers I was really that interested in, so probably look to grab a tight end on the next go round. Maybe a running back. Pretty good at wide receiver and QB. I guess if there's a wide receiver we'd be interested in, it would be Brandon Cooks. Could kick tight end down the road a bit, go with like a 3 tight end build. I don't hate that. Attack with quantity instead of quality. I tend to like to have 5 running backs when I go with 3 tight ends, though, and that looks like it's going to be a little difficult to do on this team when we only have J.K. Dobbins so far. But we'll have to see who the other running backs we end up with are. Still like some pretty good running backs on the board. Chase, A.J. Brown, C.D. Lamb, and Elijah Moore. This does not look like any of the teams I've drafted recently. I've been going more running back heavy early in these drafts for sure. I have quite a bit of interest in Rashad Penny with him returning to Seattle. I doubt that Chris Carson is really like healthy. Like, I don't know. They say he's healthy and be ready to roll, but like how long is he gonna be healthy for? Does he take like 2 hits to the neck and he's like done? Or I'm not sure how long he can really last. So right now I'm interested in AJ Dillon, Cooks, Rashad Penny, a little bit in Miles Sanders. This is probably going to be a draft where we are forced to gamble on like Spiller, because I think that we're just going to get pinched at running back enough that we're going to need to take a guy with that like massive upside. I realize like the 40 today was like absolutely hideous, but you don't really like know how the NFL is going to react to like the tape versus 40s versus that kind of shit. So dang. Pretty happy to take AJ Dillon. Sad that we did not get Brandon Cooks. Probably going to take Penny here. I think he has enough more upside than like Miles Sanders. So I think our running back room is actually looking pretty nice now. I like Dobbins, Dillon, and Penny. There was really just like nothing that exciting at tight end. I mean, I'm fine. It's like Hunter Henry or whatever. The next round. I do think we can leave ourselves open to 5 running backs, starting with those 3 guys. But we'll have to see how things go. This also could very easily be like a 7 wide receiver build because we took 4 so early. Definitely a different looking squad. Quarterback, I'm probably not interested in anything for a little bit. I guess if Pickett were to still be there when we picked again, he would be consideration because I still think he's got like a leg up on the Corral, Howell, Ritter. I think Pickett still has a leg up on those guys. I'm starting earlier this year. I do think he maybe doesn't have the highest upside of those guys, but I think all their upsides are at least somewhat similar. So we've got Burrow and Chase. We've got Zach Wilson and Elijah Moore. Probably try to do something with tight end where we take 3, but it's kind of hard to plan that out just because sometimes there's, the end of tiers and stuff where you're just like the best guy on the board is also the end of a tier for you. Pretty excited if Garrett Wilson or Drake London made it to us, but I don't really expect that to happen. Same with Kareem Hunt, Miles Sanders, Chase Edmonds. Don't mind Ramondre. Spiller is definitely in play for me. Really like the rookie running backs that I have in a tier after Spiller, which are Rashad White, Zamir White, Brian Robinson. Kyron Williams goes like insanely late in these. Like I do think he's still probably worth being drafted. I know like the combine was pretty hideous and everyone's assuming that his draft capital will be like very, very bad because of it. And I do think that it probably will be. But if the draft capital ends up not being affected by this stuff, then his ADP is going to shoot back up and we're going to like miss this chance of buying him when he was absolutely free. So that's something to think about. Like I couldn't really afford to buy much Kyron Williams because I've already like been so invested in him. Definitely 2 players on the board that stick out to me here. Considering what may happen if I don't take a tight end in these 2 picks, I think we can actually piece something together without it being that bad. Garoppolo. Don't like Garoppolo here. I do like Akua Boonham and Hunter Henry and Cole Kmet and Noah Fant. But I definitely don't like them as much as Garrett Wilson went. So I kind of I like Olave a good bit too, but Garrett Wilson is going to be like a must pick for me. Akua Boonham goes. Pickett was one that was definitely a chance here. All right, I'm going to take Chase Edmonds here. Pretty excited that he was not the pick there. Could take Isaiah Spiller and then just only take 5 running backs, but I think we actually can take a worse running back and also do that. So. Olave. How far do we want to push this tight end thing? All right, let's take it to Hunter Henry. He had 9 touchdowns last year. That seems fine. I was like considering trying to see if Njoku might make it back to us, but if that happens, we might take Njoku and then only take 2 tight ends and just like forget about the stacking with the weaker tight ends. I guess we could have taken Tyler Boyd there. I kind of like forgot about him. do like Hunter Henry quite a bit more than I like Komet and Fant, so it's kind of like played into it too. Especially with New England just like being completely incapable of adding any weapons. It's just like every year you're just like, oh, well, now they'll get some weapons. I mean, last year they spent a bunch of money, but it wasn't all spent. Like Hunter Henry worked out. Johnny Smith was a disaster. Kendrick Bourne was like fine. Nelson Aguilar was a disaster. Patriots are just hurting. So I still have some interest in adding like a Howell or a Ritter or Corral a bit later. If those guys are still around. I guess Drew Lock should be somewhat on the radar. But maybe get like a Fant Drew Lock on a team or two. I have not done that yet. Wouldn't mind finishing off my running back group with like a Darrell Henderson or Zamir White, Brian Robinson. Some of those guys are a ways down the list, so I do think Zamir White and Brian Robinson are the two most likely guys to benefit from CJ Spiller falling in the draft. Rachaad White's higher on these lists, and I take Rachaad White before those guys, but from what I follow of PFF and their draft coverage, they're actually saying that that Rachaad White is like way lower on NFL boards than fantasy boards. So he doesn't make me super excited, but I have taken him a decent amount because they don't know everything. So I don't mind mixing in some Rachaad White. But I do think like if they were around the same ADP, I would take Brian Robinson and Zamir White over Rachaad White myself. Corey Davis on the board. That should be a little interesting to us with Zach Wilson, but he may get taken before our pick. Politics and Noah Fant. Now he can be all done at tight end, which is nice. I don't really like Curtis Samuel and Terry McLaurin on the same team that doesn't have Carson Wentz. My man Jabu. Oh, that sucks. Corey Davis went off the board. Jameis Winston going back to the Saints was amazing. Still two tight ends that I'd be comfortable taking going with only two tight ends. Now it's just Cole Kmet. I don't love Irv Smith. Really, really want Darrell Henderson, so I'm just going to take him and like be fine with missing out on. I'm just going to like not take any more running backs now. I think I'll just take George Pickens here and let Kmet go. I don't know. That's interesting. Jeez. I don't know what is going on with this clock thing. It just like jumps around. It like hits 0 seconds way before it's supposed to and then just like stays there. So now we don't have to take any more tight ends, so we can just slam wide receivers and maybe pick up one more quarterback. I'm not even sure who's left at quarterback that we would actually draft. Ritter and Howell. I guess Sam Darnold should probably be on people's lists. It's Tyler Huntley, which people are taking some. I don't hate that, but I don't really love it either. I think like Tyrod is probably similar bet. I would vote probably has a lower ceiling. But I think Tyrod can actually like play without an injury, where Huntley cannot play without an injury. See if there's any like really weird builds out there. Got somebody who hasn't taken any tight end yet. Ooh, his third quarterback is Drew Lock. Not like that. There's still like quite a bit of teams in these drafts that are just like dead teams. From people just drafting, like not getting quarterbacks or whatever, drafting like 4 quarterbacks in a row and the rest of their team is just pile of poo. This guy has 2 running backs so far. Eckler and Harris, at least they're good ones. Mahomes, Daniel Jones, Baker. Oof. I'm not confident that Baker's going to be starting for anyone this year. There's really only like 2 jobs left, Carolina and Seattle. And I'm almost certain that Carolina would be out because they're already paying Darnold $18 million on his 5th year rookie year. So I guess maybe if Carolina's just like not going to draft a quarterback at 6, they could maybe trade for Baker. But I heard the Browns want like a 1st-round pick for Baker, and this is like never happening. Be lucky to get like a 3rd-round pick at this point. So 8 picks away, there's still 2 quarterbacks I have interest in Ritter and Howell, and then kind of drops after that. I know like it's not looking great for these rookie quarterbacks in the spots, but like I think the Lions at 32 could grab a rookie quarterback, and then that person could probably play fairly like early in the season, like week 4, week 6, something like that. And like these rookies like Ritter and Howell and Corral, they can all run, so they do have a decent amount of upside if they get in there. Grab Christian Watson. He interests me quite a bit. I'm glad I didn't wait for Hayden Hurst because that probably would have been like the pick before I was going to take him. Go with an upside pick there in Christian Watson. Is that the first rookie we've drafted? It is. It's kind of crazy. See, now the strat, it's doing this thing where it only gives people 12 seconds and then freezes. What is happening? I think I'm going to take Desmond Ritter over Howell this time. Then we'll just be picking wide receivers the rest of the way. So we got 4 more picks. We'll end up with 9 wide receivers. This will be kind of an interesting build. We'll end up with like 4, 5, 9, 2. I don't think I've ended up with that exact build that often. So I guess we could star up some wide receivers we have interest in. Peoples Jones, Marvin Jones, KJ Hamler, Giff, Dotson, Nico, David Bell, Zay Jones, Pringle, Crowder now that he's on Buffalo. I do think there's a chance he ends up sharing with Isaiah McKenzie, which is not the greatest. Odell just Gosh, he's injured late in the season. I guess since we're going 9 wide receivers, we could definitely include him. KJ Hamler and Viska, they're both fine. McCole Hardman's off my board now, which sucks because I took a bunch of McCole Hardman earlier. But the nice thing with McCole Hardman is your McCole Hardman shares look absolutely real bad right now, but I never took him when I took Tyreek Hill. I think I did actually once, but I was trying to avoid that because I think he still has contingent value if something happens to Tyreek Hill. Other than that, he's just a dead body. Unless Tyreek Hill gets hurt, McCole Hardman's worthless. But at least there's still some sort of a path to him being useful for you at some point. I also would just kind of avoid McCole Hardman on Mahomes teams because when Hardman hits his ceiling, it's because something very bad happened for Mahomes and losing Tyreek Hill. So I don't actually want Hardman on my Mahomes teams. I wanted Hardman on non-Mahomes teams, which unfortunately I took a bunch of him, but that's all right. I assume Zamir White must be long since gone. Okay, we'll put him in the queue even though he's not a wide receiver. But okay, there he went. That's cool. That was the only running back that had enough upside where I would still consider grabbing him. Pretty interesting running back group there, that's for sure. Well, Marvin Jones is still pretty interesting. I feel like people think, Zay Jones will play over him. Look at Zay Jones's career. I mean, he's been pretty terrible. Even last year when he was quote unquote good or whatever, he had 1 touchdown. Or Marvin Jones had 9, and last year he stunk it up with 4. But I feel like Marvin Jones is probably being discounted too much because of the other guys that came in. He could easily still be the wide receiver 1 for that team. Whereas Christian Kirk got the 1 money, but depends if T-Law targets the slot as much as the outside, which I don't really know. I think Marvin Jones and Dotson are definitely the 2 most attractive players on the board for me at the moment. It's funny. Brevin Jordan just went off, and I have a feeling if I was planning to go with Hurst and Brevin Jordan behind Hunter Henry, this would have been the round I would have been targeting Jordan, and the round 2 rounds ago I would have been targeting Hurst and probably got sniped on both of them. I think I'll probably take Dotson here, just because we only have 1 rookie wide receiver so far, and I would feel worse about not getting Dotson than Marvin Jones. Grab Nico here to go with Davis Mills. We got 2 picks left. I guess we could throw Berrios in there because we have Zach Wilson. I do think the Jets are probably going to draft a wide receiver, so Berrios doesn't super interest me because I think he's going to be more of a wide receiver 4 type depth piece. If things get too hideous at wide receiver, we could always peek back at running backs and see what's going on. Zach Pascal going to Philadelphia is a little bit interesting. I think he's the 2nd best wide receiver on that roster, but they have 3 first-round picks, so I would assume that Philadelphia is going to draft another wide receiver. I'm surprised Paul ended up with 3 tight ends. He had Kittle and Fan, didn't he? I think I would have just stopped at Kittle and Fant. Jacoby Brissett is like definitely not a pick for me at the moment because like for me to be taking a backup quarterback, they have to be 100% clearly the backup, and that is not the case yet for Jacoby Brissett because Baker's still there. So I don't think that they would cut Baker, but it's possible. This team's got to be a dead team at this point. As much as I like Austin Eckler and Najee Harris, like he had like no other running backs. I think he's just gonna get too beaten up. Like if either of them even sustains like a minor injury, plus he's like got Baker as his QB3, I think that this team is fairly drawn dead. Gonna have like some decent wide receiver points, but even like I mean LaVisca, probably like Cedric Wilson could have been a running back, Kenny Galladay, Visca. Definitely didn't need a third tight end once he had Waller and Goddard. I think you need to go like really fragile at tight end in this tournament because they just like don't score any points. So like you need to mostly be taking two that are like decent. They don't have to be like the top ones, but it helps if they are. Like I'm a little too thin at tight end with Hunter Henry and Komet. But like, if Hunter Henry was Goddard, I think that would be fine or something like that. But I was kind of wishy-washy on like if I wanted to try the three tight ends to get some stack options with my quarterbacks and kind of backed myself into a corner where I was like, Cole Kmet is like the last guy in a tier for me, so just took him. Really haven't taken hardly any Amari Rodgers. I still don't even like Amari Rodgers that much, even with the wide open room there in Green Bay. I think Zay Jones. Probably gonna look to grab Tolbert with my next pick, I guess. I do like him a bit more than Zacchaeus. Just think there's like a lot more upside there. John Mechie is pretty interesting, but he's coming back from a torn ACL. So we ended up with Burrow, Wilson, Davis Mills, and Ritter as quarterbacks. For stack pieces, we got Jamar Chase, Elijah Moore, and Nico. Running backs, we got J.K. Dobbins, Dylan Penny, Chase Edmonds, and Darrell Henderson. Wide receivers went with 9, starting off with Chase, A.J. Brown, C.D. Lamb, Elijah Moore, then ending up with Watson, Dotson, Nico Collins, Zay Jones, and Tolbert, and pretty weak at tight end with Hunter Henry and Komet, but not quite a disaster. All in all, I think this team is like a B. It's nothing special. It's just fine. I think the interesting decision point was when I took A.J. Brown. I probably should have just taken Tannehill because like that would have forced the guy in the end to probably take Trevor Lawrence and CeeDee Lamb, and then just like leave me AJ Brown. But I don't think things ended up that bad anyway. Cause we got lucky, got Zach Wilson a little later than he usually goes. But I guess this just could have been Daniel Jones if it wasn't Zach Wilson. And I did get a Davis Mills share, which is cool because I've kind of like not really taken him much. Let's see Paul's last pick if he goes with 5 running backs. Tyler Algier, I'm guessing, something like that. No, he might not be on the board anymore. It is Tyler Algier. So who'd end up with? Yeah, it's pretty fragile, but I mean, obviously, like, just going to bet that your top picks stay healthy because you need that to happen anyway. Cool. Wow, this guy ended up taking 10 wide receivers. Yeah. Between, like, this guy's QB 2-3 being Daniel Jones and Baker Mayfield, then basically, like, not taking any running backs either after Eckler and Najee Harris. I think this team is pretty much dead. 3 running backs. Alrighty, that'll do it for this one, and good luck in your drafts, folks.